I haven't slept in 48 hours, I think, or more. The movie's about to start. I'm about to see Blair Witch, which I do not have high hopes for. The first one was okay. I just saw it, so I could see this one. I just saw it a couple of hours ago. This is my second attempt to go watch this movie. I missed the first showtime, and I was upset because I'd stay awake for even longer. So, alright.
No sleep till!
That movie sucked. Yeah, I did not like that movie at all. That was not a pleasant experience. I just don't understand how the person making that movie got it in their head to make that movie. I think in order to talk about this, I'm not going to be able to avoid any spoilers of the original Blair Witch and the new one I just saw. I just saw both of them for the first time, actually. See, because once again, I found myself in a position where I hadn't slept for a while, so I figured, why not just do another movie review? And in the spirit of Halloween, and following in the steps of my last movie review, which was also a horror movie, I figured I'd do another horror movie, and the only one at the cheap theater was Blair Witch. And the original Blair Witch project was already on my watch list and on Hulu, so I figured I'd watch that and then compare the two. There's nothing to compare. They're not comparable. The original Blair Witch, the thing everyone thinks about when they think about that movie is how people thought it was real when it came out. There's no way anyone could have thought that with this movie, the new one. And you know what? It actually could have been kind of interesting that way if they'd taken the original Blair Witch and made the stories from that movie about the Blair Witch be true and remade the movie in that vein. That would have been interesting. This wasn't even the story of the original movie. Some guy's like trying to find his sister that's lost in the Blair Witch woods or something. Some generic horror movie setup. Something like that. Slept in over 48 hours. Probably like 60 hours now. I don't know. I guess I'm not really saying anything new. People are probably already tearing this movie apart. It has bad reviews. So all of this has probably already been said. The only difference is I'm tired. And this movie sure didn't help with that. I'm much more tired now after having seen that train wreck. Okay. Ignoring the original Blair Witch Project. This movie's very boring and hard to follow. That might not be the movie's fault though. Like, I did fall asleep here and there for but seconds at a time. And I did get into the theater late because they wouldn't let me in without an ID. I don't carry around an ID. Who do you think I am? ID? The eye demon? I mean, no. So I got into the theater late and I missed the first couple minutes, I guess, which I guess was just saying that the guy was going to find his sister, and he went with his girlfriend and another couple friend of theirs, and then two other people who were local to the town who were crazy or something. I don't know. I guess it did matter that I missed those couple minutes because I wasn't even able to figure out that he was looking for his sister, except for that I looked on the IMDb page of what the plot was. Where was I? This movie didn't need to be rated R. The original movie was rated R mostly because of the language. In fact, I would say it was entirely because of the language. I can't remember anything very gruesome about it besides a bloody tooth or something. Whatever that was supposed to be. This movie didn't really have anything except for one scene that pretty much crossed it over. There were a few F words here and there, so that probably helped. But really all they would have needed to do was get rid of two of those and they'd be fine. But there was this one scene, it was disgusting and it had nothing to do with anything relating to the Blair Witch Project. This person stepped on something in the water and it was a parasite in her wound, and so then later on in the movie there was like a scene of her like pulling it out, and there's like pus and blood and stuff. It's disgusting. It's like one of those pimple popping videos on YouTube. It was so random. It had nothing to do with anything going on, at least not that I could tell. Let me get back to the main point, which was that this was just a generic bad horror movie with nothing going on, just people screwing around in the woods. Oh, wait, no, here's the worst part. Nothing scary happened, except for, I think, 99.999% of the scares in the movie were jump scares. And I don't think I'm even exaggerating. There might have been one part where there was like some kind of vague monster, so I guess that could count for more than a jump scare. But oh my god, the jump scares in this movie are so stupid and annoying and pointless. Jump scares are already pretty much like that. I guess they can be good in moderation, but every couple of seconds, they would just put in a jump scare as like a normal mechanic in the movie. Like, someone would just walk in front of the camera and that would be a jump scare. And they would use jump scares as like transitions to scenes. Like there would be a glitch in the camera and it would be like unnecessarily loud and it would make the audience jump up. And there was no point to it. And also with the cameras, that's really all that made this a Blair Witch Project movie. Was they took the outline of the myth that was going on in the original movie of the Blair Witch and stuff, and that was the monster for this movie. It wasn't scary. All the scares were jump scares, so it didn't really matter. They had like some of the symbols from the original movie. I guess it was supposed to be the same woods. The story was completely different, I think I've already said. So besides the outline of the myth that they used to set up this movie, the only other way was like the original is it's a found footage horror movie. I hate found footage movies. Blair Witch has a reason to be a found footage movie. I actually liked the original Blair Witch. The ending was, the ending to Blair Witch is talked about. I don't really want to get into it. This is a review of the new one, even though I did just see the first one for the first time. But yeah, that has a reason for being a found footage movie. And it helped it to garner its reputation as a possibly true story. And that was the thing about that movie, is that you didn't know if it was real or not. And of course this movie could never be like that, but they could still make it found footage. That's a classic trope everyone loves to use these days with horror movies for some reason. And not even just horror movies, movies like Chronicle and Project Almanac and Earth to Echo. It was okay in Project Almanac. The other two, the found footage sucked. Earth to Echo just sucks. It's a terrible movie. And Chronicle isn't very good either. I think I've seen other found footage movies, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. I mean, Haunted House. That's making fun of the trope. And I hate in found footage movies when they don't even bother to explain who's filming. Like, if you're going to make the movie seem like it's being recorded by someone the entire time, if you're going to make the movie seem like it was recorded by someone the entire time, or like different characters, so that you can work around getting different view shots while still being found footage, if you're going to go to all that trouble, then do that. Actually write a reason for every different camera angle. Like, someone has to be holding that camera. And I might have missed something in the beginning where like all the characters might be holding some kind of necklace with a camera in it, because otherwise I have no idea how they can keep cutting to characters' perspectives and they're just like looking at people as if they're holding a camera, and then it'll cut to someone else and it shows that the character is clearly not holding a camera. That actually reminds me of another thing with found footage movies. I hate the trope within the trope of found footage movies where people will constantly, throughout the movie, just keep repeating, turn off the camera, and they're like shoving their hand into the lens. It's annoying and it's distracting. If you're going to do a found footage movie, you don't want to remind the audience that it's found footage movie every second. There's other stuff going on in the movie. It's stupid. And so they did that in this one. There were also a lot more characters than in the original Blair Witch, which served no purpose. They just kept getting killed off. And we don't even know if anyone died in the original Blair Witch. There's definitely nothing supernatural shown, and there's no death shown, there's no violence shown. This movie is so violent and shaky, and people are dying everywhere, and it's like there's dirt and mud. It feels like another Evil Dead movie. I've only seen the first Evil Dead, by the way, so keep that in mind when I say that. It feels like a reboot of that more than it feels like a reboot of Blair Witch. I've said it already, but I just want to say I liked the original Blair Witch because it seemed like it could be real. Even though at this point I know it's not real, because that's the reputation this movie has now. Everyone knows it's not real now, and of course it's not real. But their performances of the people convince you that it could be real. And that's why there was the question of whether it could be real or not when the movie was released. I've heard people saying that the acting in the original wasn't good. I don't see how that can be true if people actually thought that the movie was real. If some people actually bought that, then that means those people in the movie were convincing enough that people didn't think they were in a movie. They just thought it was people in real life. So I don't see how that could be bad acting. It's barely even a horror movie, really. It's like a thriller. Besides the weird ending, it's just an interesting case study of these people who are lost in the woods and don't think they'll ever be able to make their way back. And there is this sinister force looming that's mysterious, and that's also there. And I guess that's the main thing. But I enjoyed the aspect of these people trying to cope with the fact that they might never see civilization again. And to me, that's what the movie felt like it was about. And the characters actually felt like they were acting like people would actually act in that situation. The acting in this movie was not good. The person with the weird stuff in their foot, I mean, I can't remember the lines, but I remember 2 lines they said were just such bad acting. And I don't know, maybe it was just those 2 lines. I mean, like I said, I did kind of zone out of a lot of the end of the movie because it was just getting so complicated for me because I was going on 48 hours of no sleep and the movie sucked. So I wasn't really engrossed. Lights Out engrossed me well enough. Just wasn't able to do it. And I was just pacing back and forth in the theater trying not to fall asleep until the movie was over. This one lady was worried I was going to shoot up the theater because I was standing in the back and she didn't think I was an employee. She actually came up to me and said, "Are you an employee?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Do you have a gun?" I said, "No." No, I do not have a gun. But speaking of the ending of the movie, this is where it really got me. They did all this stuff that just made this movie be a generic horror movie. It wasn't Blair Witch, it was just a generic, shitty horror movie, like a lot of the stuff coming out these days. There are good ones, like Lights Out was mostly okay, and Don't Breathe got good reviews. I'm excited to see that one. But then there's movies like this and Ouija, or Ouija, or whatever. I'm so tired. Right, anyway, the ending. They just took the ending from the first movie. They took the ending from the original Blair Witch, in like, I guess, trying to be a tribute. There was like one person left alive, and they were trapped in the room with, I guess, the Blair Witch, and they made up this weird reverse Doctor Who rule where the witch can only attack you if you're looking at it. And so long story short, the person ended up turning around, and they recreated the shot of just the camera falling and cracking and buzzing as it hits the ground, and just like facing a wall and not really showing anything. And they didn't really show the monster at all that much in the movie. The monster being the witch or something. Although, wait, there was also like this big Sasquatch in one scene that they didn't really show, but it was clearly like this huge Sasquatch or something knocking down a tree, I think. Unless I'm remembering wrong from sleep deprivation. But anyway, there was no point for this movie to end that way. The original movie ended like that to be ambiguous because you don't know what's happening. And I guess in this one it was like a tribute to the original for them to ending it like that. But it was already controversial enough for the first movie to end like that. Some people like it, some people don't like it, I think. I'm not sure. I'm actually just speculating that. I assume people are divided on that, because I'm kind of divided on it. I'm not sure how I feel about that ending. But the point is that the first movie ended that way so that you don't know if there's a witch or not. In this new one, you already know there's a witch, so there's no point. I don't know. That was just the part where that was the last scene in the movie, and then it just hit the credits. It held on that shot for a while where it's just the camera pointing at the corner of the wall. I started walking back to my seat as the credits rolled. I was just like, I shouted. I was like, "Wow!" And I wasn't the only one. There were like these 2 other people saying how it was bullshit or It was just silly. And it was a silly, stupid movie. And I think it's gonna go up there with Sharknado and AI and Ice Age Continental Drift on the list of the worst movies I've ever seen. Because it was just so stupid. I'm not saying it's one of the worst movies of all time. I try to watch movies that I think I'll enjoy somewhat, so I know I'm not gonna be an expert on what the worst movies are. But out of the movies I've seen, those movies, and I think now Blair Witch is going to be one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Now, what could they have done to make a Blair Witch remake that could have been at least somewhat good? Well, I think they almost did it. I think the idea of having the Blair Witch be more present in the movie and just redoing the story like that could be interesting. It could be like a reimagining of the original. It already is. They reimagined it so that it's definitely a fantasy horror movie. When in the original, it could be a fantasy horror movie, it could just be a survival thriller, it could be whatever you want. I mean, not whatever you want, but it's open-ended. This one wasn't ambiguous. So that could have been a way to do it, is remake it so that it's not ambiguous. Like assign someone to make the movie in the way that they interpreted it. That could be an interesting reimagining of the movie. But they didn't do that. It's like they started doing that, but then they just turned it into its complete own horror movie. Where it's just a witch chasing people in the woods. And not even just a witch, it's like Zeus's sister or something. It's like a goddess in the woods, like... This is a powerful witch if it's a witch. Making trees levitate and shit. Oh, another thing they kept from the original movie, which I guess kind of goes with how they kept the outline. They kept some of the mythos of the Blair Witch with the stories of how people were controlled by the Blair Witch and stuff. They kept some of those same stories. I don't know. I guess I don't really have anything else to say about this movie. I don't think. I hated it. What do I rate it? 3 out of 10? That's the rating I give it off the top of my head. If I change my mind, I'll put like a note or something. But for now, I'm saying it's a 3 out of 10. And if not, I'll put a note here. Alright, I guess that's all I really have to say about it. Don't watch this movie. It's not worth it. The original is worth it, but hopefully you've already seen the original if you're watching this video. Because spoiled it, if not, kinda, a lot of it. Spoiled a lot of it. I did do a spoiler warning though. Spoilers mean a lot to me. Like, I don't want to spoil anything for anyone. So yeah, that was a horror movie review. This was Sleepless in Theater, Halloween edition with a horror movie review. Happy Halloween. See, it's a Halloween shirt and a normal shirt. Yeah. Wait, what? It's not Halloween, it's Christmas. Well, it's because I filmed this right before Halloween, back in October, and I haven't got around to finishing it until yesterday, Christmas Eve. So, now I'm uploading it on Christmas Day. Merry Christmas. Or Christmas night now, actually. I'm gonna put a notation here to the last Sleepless in Theater video was Lights Out. I think this will probably be the last Sleepless in Theater video I make because I don't want to keep doing the no sleep thing. Like, I'm trying to, I don't know. Well, whatever, anyway. And then here's another random video. One last thing, that's it. One last thing is, though, I'm going to, starting January 1st, I'm going on my second channel, Ri-Fi. I'm going to try to make a movie review every day, since I usually watch a movie every day anyway. I'm going to try to make a little, not a full movie review, not even like this much, but like a short movie review vlog, basically saying my thoughts on the movie I watched for the day. Or if I don't get around to watching a movie in that day, one I watched recently, because sometimes I watch more than one movie a day. But anyway, if I end up doing that, those will be on my second channel. I'm going to try to do it. Hopefully I can end up doing it every day. So that'll be on my second channel, Ri-Fi. Here's some more videos saying thank